Okay, for the first thing you need to look at in games are matchups. So first you have to learn priorities and what you want to do in games. So lane priorities for bot lane. They just buffed Azrael's damage, and Varus is an early game AD carry that can scale into later stages of the game. So he's good in most stages of the game. Thresh and Braum are they're about even, so bottom lane's relatively equal to each other. Kassadin loses to Viktor, so Viktor has prio. Kindred versus Kha'Zix is relatively even. Top lane's even. So now you have to see who's the powerhouses and who's going to scale your game into a win. So this is your main damage dealer. You're a damage dealer, assassin, so you two can scale the game. It's good to deny Varus from getting his lead because he wants to carry their game, and Kassadin gets to carry their game. So from looking at the top lane, 2 tank utilities, you can leave this lane alone because it has no relevance to how the end game goals, your winning objectives. These are their winning objectives, and this is yours to scale the game early game to deny theirs. So you should be playing to mid the bot side, so you can scale this early game. And you relatively win level 6 with Kha'Zix because Kindred is a squishy champion and you have enough nuke damage to make it where she can't win in a 1v1. So now you have to then think of priorities, right? Early game priorities, not just who needs the scaling. So you have to think, okay, who has the priorities? Usually you ask your mid, the bot lane, the ones that you're supposed to be playing around, who their priority is. And for mid, it's Viktor because Kassadin is a weak early game. And as I said before, this bottom lane is relatively equal. It can also depend on how your bottom lane feels, so make sure you know what they feel about the matchup, because if they're not comfortable, they might say something else. So just make sure to keep track of them and what's actually happening on the map. And then you want to pick your jungle pathing around what's happening on the map. So from this game here, this is from Worlds, Fnatic versus IG. You can start looking at their team comp and seeing which sides people should be playing on. Zhen went from red to blue, and Olaf is currently doing a full clear bottom. So you have to see what they want to do. Doing a full clear usually means you want good rubber band times, good respawn times, basically, for your jungle. So doing a fast clear is a very greedy clear, and it kind of confuses what Olaf... Alright, let's figure out what Olaf wants to do first. So their win condition is through bot lane mostly, right? Mid lane, they kind of get an item spike, but then that's kind of their biggest point. So he kind of is a weak mid laner and has to hit a certain power point, and then he kind of starts fizzling off Olaf. He gets his power spike as well. So these are two mid game champions, and they need to make the early to mid game the best they can possibly be. This is just a super tank, really good, versus another super tank. So this is relatively equal. He should leave top side alone. Jungle, Jhin is very good at damage and 1v1s. I'm not sure who exactly wins this. I think it might be Olaf favored, but it's relatively equal to clear time and what you want to do on the map. This is Syndra favored because of her early game damage and utility, but Swain can set up ganks really nicely, so keep that in mind when you're going for your pathing. So you relatively want to focus on bot lane. Get your win condition. Condition ahead. Leona counters Rakan, but you can still get his utility off, and Xayah is stronger than Kai'Sa level 1, or early levels. But Kai'Sa will slowly get to scaling, so she is an anti-priority. She's a priority, but you don't want her to scale. And you don't want Syndra to scale either. So again, his objective is mid the bot side, Olaf's. Doing this full clear path, this usually means you're going to back. You don't have mana, the blue buffs sustain. They don't really know that Jhin is going to turn this into a vertical. But even so, turning this into a vertical can be rough because Olaf again has no mana and cannot pressure bottom lane at this point. So he kind of falls off with what he wants to do with his pathing.
Alright, so we're looking at some of the openings, and I really like how Ning actually went from the red to the blue. This is going to actually further hurt Olaf. So we can see something which is kind of actually odd. Broxah elects to he elects to do a full red side clear, which he's not going to have any incentive to go into bottom lane. Now off the recall, he would path into his blue side jungle, but the problem is that if he paths into his blue side jungle and Sion doesn't reliably get the bounce onto the turret, he doesn't have any incentive to actually go into Ning's red side jungle, because it's unlikely that he's going to find Ning, and it's also unlikely that he's going to be able to get anything by being on this side of the map. He's not going to be able to gank Ornn, and it's extremely unlikely that he's going to be able to gank Rookie. And the reason that I say this is because if Olaf would actually recall, clear out his blue side jungle, and then path up into the Scuttle Crab, and then try to come around on Rookie like this, you would then have to assume that Ning would be on the right-hand side, in which case you're falling into a counter or a match gank, which is very, very bad for Broxah, because this also means that now Ning and Rookie are likely going to be in proximity to your right side rubber banded camps, which then means that Broxah is in a very awkward situation for his jungle pathing.
So keeping that in mind, it's easier for Olaf to start blue, which most Olafs do because of his mana issues, and to generally rotate down because he is a one of the best 1v1 junglers in the game right now. Again, I don't know who wins this matchup versus Jhin Olaf. I think it's a bit of a skill matchup, but overall, getting the pressure down on bot lane and mid lane is good. They do not win the 2v2 mid unless Syndra overextends or does something very poor. So this generally just gives you a better opportunity to do something. It doesn't particularly mean that you will get something done. Generally, you want to have the best way to get to level 6 and scale off of that, because your power spike starts coming with first items and level 6 because Olaf. So keeping this in mind, when we come back to your game, you have to see your power spikes. You, when you get to level 6, will beat her. And so according to your pathing, you have to play according to your win conditions.
Your path is destined to cross ours.
Go here.
Yours mark me.
Charge.
I know your name.
We have
Remember to
always
stand up here. Remember to
So
stand
you
up here.
should start thinking about what you want to do. Or, whoops. I don't know why that's not working. Here. So you should be thinking what pathing you want to do. Kindred relatively likes red buff starts just because she can duel the opponent jungler and clear much more efficient. Some people like blue start because you get the bottom lane leash and it can put pressure on top side. But as we said before, even if she does get pressure on top side, it's not relatively good because it's an equal lane and utility tanks, and you'd rather scale your bot side anyways. So you have to consider, or mid to bot side anyways, so you have to consider your pathing. Do you want to do your top side and rotate down? Do you want to start from bot side and rotate around, going through Krugs, Scuttle? Would you like to consider this pathway? Even if she did start her blue side, you could then get a picture of what she's going to do. If she does this, she usually does this. Blue Grump into Scuttle, or blue Grump into other Scuttle. You have to consider your pathing. You can red Krugs into Scuttle, get level 3, and be a force in the bot side. But generally, if you choose this pathway, you are then prioritizing the early game to be top mid. Unless you plan for an invasion or something, but generally the matchup is relatively even between you early game, and if you force into her, she can maybe get a win, and also you're invading, so they might have priority over you. You have to be careful on that. But yeah, considering those options is nice. See which one you particularly want. If you do go for this invasion, you have to have priority over mid and bottom. Or mostly bottom because it has 2 people. But for example, in this game in Worlds,
Down here, looks like X Smithy is coming around.
bottom lane had an early advantage, and Syndra has a relatively even to early advantage versus Ryze. So
This is always really scary.
they get
seeing
early
fights like this.
prio. Score gets an easy red to blue pathing and stealing their blue. Gragas then goes and has to give because it's a 2v1
X-Mid?
potentially more, but it's a bad fight.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Usually I thought I went to the bottom side.
No, it's.
Oh yeah, he wasn't here for that.
suggested
He wasn't here for
it's
that last night.
Oh yeah. It's safer for me to be here.
Okay.
Yo, fucking Ezreal looks so good when he walks around now.
Yeah, he looks good.
There's a Cassidy in there.
Spawning's gonna be rough. We're gonna be pushing a lot.
I don't need to. Like, we don't know if there's anyone else there.
If Varus wants to, he's gonna have to push advantage on
Minions
me.
have spawned.
Gonna pretend like I'm winning my blue.
This lane is very fucking winnable for us though.
It is. It's winnable. But we're gonna lose pressure early.
Your W damage is fucking insane now. By
It
the
is.
way.
It's really good.
Do you max at second? Your W can latch onto inhibs and towers, by the way.
Yeah.
And the Nexus.
And neutral objectives.
Context.
Yeah, you can still unlock it. I think he started your top side.
They're already bot.
His
Yeah,
top side.
he started. They did not start bot side.
He's probably going right to top crowd.
I mean, I can fight Kindred. So,
I'm walking up for it. Just gonna work right here.
okay.
Dead already, so.
Kindred's market was here too.
Okay. Priority, so.
So, instantly, when you start red side and you see that bottom starts here, and top goes up here, and top is missing, most likely they are doing something on the top side. Most likely just leashing on here. And that's why you do the 5 points, so you can spot this, any invasions. So you can kind of relatively see that they could start here. Then you have to picture pathings that she could possibly take. The common one is, because she doesn't like doing raptors, here into Scuttle, or here into blue Grump, Scuttle, or here into blue Scuttle. Either way, she most likely goes bottom side. Some people do like doing the red to Krugs and to Raptors for the early level 3. But generally, as soon as you see them here, you have to be thinking she's going to move down. So you should be keeping that in mind when you're at your red buff. You should be keeping in mind that your bottom lane will lose priority because they don't get the early shove. Your mid lane still has priority, and then you have to consider which one's better, who has priority, and then you take your red, and then you should plan your pathing from there, knowing that she starts her red too, and most likely she'll be moving downward. And don't forget that your main objective is to play to mid to bottom.
Yeah, but this is actually good for us because now Braum has to play back and it's gonna hook.
You didn't even go for it, so she's on the bot side scuttle right now.
You call that on the bot side scuttle.
On the W?
Right here. You should be questioning. You know she's on bot side? Or you call that she's on bot side, and she most likely is on bot side. That, what is your next plan, and what do you want to do? Top lane is being pushed into them. Mid lane is about even, but you have
Oh, how
Cryo.
much still left? I'm going straight to it.
Going for a scuttle here, when you already know she has bot lane prio, she's here first, just seems like you're contradicting your own calls. Because she's most likely closer to the scuttle and can already have it cleared by the time you get over here. By the time you use the 15 seconds, about 15 seconds to get over here, she can easily kill the scuttle within that time period. So, right here, this call is very weird, according to what you did with your pathing.
Guys are walking down already.
Oh, Kinder's
What's going on?
This was nice, but Nick saw that Cassin is turnable,
Is it?
She
and
flashed.
he turned very quickly, which is nice.
Flash.
Oh, let's get off that while you have your bot on.
Nice reaction.
Let's teleport. Oh my bad, that's Cassin, it's not Science.
Instantly, you should think Kindred was in my bot side. I saw Kindred, she did not have blue. She took 3 camps, so you have to consider what camps she took. So she started red, she went down. You know she took Scuttle, so what other camps can she get that gets her level 3 with 3 camps? That's Krugs. So doing process of elimination, you should be able to see that she took red Krugs, backed, and scuttled. You also see she was sitting in your bush, so she has this side warded. She has your red side warded. And going back into red side, you know you are spotted.
Fuck, that's actually so shitty for me that he TP'd
You know
there. I
that
didn't even
she'll
realize
be
he had
at
TP
her
until
blue
this
side
second.
and doing a full clear since
Like I
she
knew he
does
had it,
not
but I
have
forgot
any
about it.
camps from here.
Wait.
Or most likely a
He's
full
actually
clear. You
killable?
100% know she's going to
So I'm
take
gonna flash on him if
her
he walks up.
blue.
After I do this Raptor camp, I'm gonna come mid.
So you're in this bottom side, you know you're spotted, and you decide to gank for a mid.
What folly it is to snatch our mouse.
The probably the best
Oh, that went through
action
that.
I believe you should be able to do is probably just go into a clear because they know you're here and they can play back. There's also looks like they're pushing into your bot lane, so they're susceptible to being ganked, and Thresh is easy at setting up ganks. He has a lantern, he can get you in, and a hook, which can catch people out. You should be looking at HP bars and mana. He's starting to get low on mana. He's relatively high. Your summoners, you should ask your bottom lane, but they're all up. He's relatively low, so you should consider and ask your bot lane if you can come down. The Cassin is being rather disrespectful with staying as far as he is, but you guys have no summoners, so he's relatively safe.
Green.
Alright, we have a wave to fight in now.
Oh no.
Unfortunate.
If I hit hook on bars, we just go.
You see Kindred over here, you
Kindred
should
top side.
instantly tap to her farm.
Magnet on the fucking
21 after killing your ward.
Gonna walk up and
So
play.
5 camps,
Yeah, I'm leaving.
so you should count. She took Krugs. You can look at the time. You clear your first camp around like 150, so her Krugs will be up because of the 2-minute and 30-second respawn time. So she took red, Krugs, into Scuttle, and then went back and cleared blue, and then another camp. I would most likely guess Grump, because Grump is more valuable. You see that her Raptors are up and she never cleared them. So you know her top side is respawn, she wants to clear that. So she'll be
I got no mana,
up
we gotta
there
push.
for probably
Somebody's
about 30 more seconds and then back
Oh, yeah.
and going bottom.
I got my first upgrade. I'm gonna have farm.
Okay. Scuttle spawn in top side in 20 seconds.
We're leaving bot lane.
Kendrick's mark is gonna be on it.
backing
It's
right
the only
now,
place
so
it can spawn.
Yeah, Cassidy is backing right now, so we can.
That's a good read on
Okay.
knowing that's the only place it will spawn.
Oh, her marks don't make Grump actually. Couldn't drop ward up here and try.
Grump spawned just in time, I suppose.
You guys really good back timer up.
Something to note, but you already should know she's topside, is that Cyan randomly goes from the wave to the tri-bush and pinks, which is kind of odd. Definitely when you're being pushed in, so most likely
Pretty
Kendra's
sure
topside.
now.
But that's just, since you already know she's topside, it doesn't matter too much.
Kindred's up here.
I can walk.
I have no mana. I think you get out.
She's just leaving.
The only other possible read you could probably do is preemptively prepare for her with Gragas and you.
She was just trying to get the scuttle.
Yeah, we have bot frozen.
You should look at her farm, and she currently has 30, so that means she cleared 2 more camps since the last time you came. So she took her Raptors and her Krugs. Really easy to read. She'll be going back down bottom, backing and then bottom most likely, and you're clearing your Grump, so you most likely will clear Grump back and go to your red side and Krugs. So you should make your plans considering off of that you'll both be bot side. Do you want to counter or do you want to go for a play? You both will be hitting 6 relatively within the 2 minutes, 30 minutes.
So it is gankable now.
You should be communicating when you back what your jungle path plan is, so
Give me
everyone
50 minions. Oh.
understands.
Wrong.
Yeah, can you come bot after that scut or the red buff?
Yeah.
Sign's backing right now.
We can at least get Varus flash.
You guys can let them. Oh, never mind. We're dead.
Victor is
Yeah,
back,
I'm not backing. Cassidy's gonna clear my base.
Casson's
so you will not have mid prior.
Oh, okay.
That'll shoot.
I don't think that's bad.
Defender here.
Communicating what you need beforehand when you are backing can also give direction for everyone else if they need to back sooner, etc. if you want to make a play. So this is why generally everyone should communicate what they want to do when they back and if anyone else needs to, so you can make a play. You know everyone's going to be bot side, and you should be asking everyone if they want to fight or not, and this should lead up to a bigger
I need to
decision
get smart first.
to what to do.
Pretty sure. It's like
Okay.
in a really good position. Like,
Cassidy's shaking.
You're there on the mark.
I'm right next. I'm right next.
Why
to
have
you.
you-
I'm right
can
next
you
to
walk
you.
back
Can we collapse on them? Can you walk up?
I'm passing.
Just go.
Pick one target.
This is nice. Victor can easily kill Kindred. She's level 5, and You get the isolation damage on Cassidon, and he's not that strong right now, so it's an easy pickup for you.
We should have called target there though for sure. I'm coming bot now.
Okay, you have to consider objectives at this point. Look at her farm. She got 1 camp since you last saw her. So, I believe it was this one. And of course her 2 farm. Not sure where she got that from. But, overall, you know that her 2 camps over here are still up because she would be level 8 if she wasn't. Or if they weren't up. Or she would have 8 more farm, my bad. So you have to consider Drake is up, and this potential gank, which they haven't backed up for, is up. So consider the most value.
Because he was level
Come on,
5.
y'all mentioning it.
Yep.
Your my Q is just invisible.
It is an easy.
Extremely easy.
Right here, you have a decision to keep going or back. Braum is low enough where, and he just used flash in his Q, so you could possibly go forward. You have flash on both your support and your AD carry. You should then call back or go in. You have to choose one, and you have to say what you want to do.
And just
Peridian called go go go, and you backed up. So you have to call them back, or it becomes then a fiesta because they don't have their team.
Wait, someone fucking auto attacked me.
Unfortunate.
Why didn't you auto him?
I wasn't in range.
No, I meant Kha'Zix.
I wasn't in range.
That was special.
Spark's about to spawn. Kindred's here, I just have to leave it.
He has more farm, clear to camp.
Yeah, I'm
Yo,
up.
you need to run.
Wolves are
Or
still
you need
up.
to run right
From
Top is killed.
Okay. I'll path towards that. Yeah, I'm
now.
up.
Yo, you need to
Kindred's here, I just have to leave it.
there's a little niche you could do here, and that is W the dragon and jump over the wall. It makes it harder for her to take scuttle because dragon will then harass her. Just a mechanical thing.
Kindred
Or jump over the wall to
Yeah,
hit
well,
you
dragon.
need to run.
Either
Or
one.
you need to run right now.
Top is killed.
Okay. I'll path towards that. I'm gonna drop a board on back also. All the way up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in if you can't do anything.
Okay.
Oh, you have red buff.
I can come with you.
Does he ever R onto you?
All the time. Yeah, if I walk up, he will, unless he has vision. Yeah, he knows you're there. He knows you guys are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just stay there, I'll hit the plant. Just clear the ward.
He just trades me, like, literally every second. Oh, wow, he actually didn't know.
Called for a gank. Didn't really pay off. Cassidon was playing back. You have to consider what you're going to do now. Kindred will most likely be pathing upwards because she just cleared her grump and her wolves. Or her wolves were up, so she most likely clears them. And is going topside. Her blue is coming back up, so she'll want to pass that to Cassidon. So she'll be coming back down eventually. Whenever he goes off the map, you'll know when, most likely. Your bot lane is getting pushed in. Top lane is pushing. Mid lane's getting pushed in.
Okay, I guess you're just playing like a pussy after they lost that last
Already
fight.
got
Kindred's top. Kindred's top.
Kindred stop.
All the way up there, yeah.
I'm coming. I'm on my
Nice.
way too.
Okay.
Brom's missing.
Cassidon is next to me. He's gonna get there first. Run this way. Run this way.
Yeah, just take them
Varus and Braum are mid.
We got this.
Gotcha. Cool, that's really good. There's no ult.
Varus is mid.
Oh, that was
You got this. You should be wondering who is on and off the map. You see 2 mid, Scion, and then Cassidy over
Varus and
there.
Braum are mid.
Okay. Yeah, just hard shove. Get back to mid before I hit the tower.
I saw you flashing.
You know her camps are up. You know they're top side, mid to top side, so you can't invade. You should most likely be looking to pass blue, so backing and then getting pressure on the map. You can back, get pressure for bot turret and dragon, or back, get pressure for blue buff, pass to Victor, and then you can get pressure over whatever side you think you need to. There's bottom lane mid, they will go bottom to cover it, so they will not be top side. Kindred has blue up, so she'll most likely want to clear that before she comes back and clears her top side. So you have to consider that you have a chance to get Rift if you all start resetting near the same time. Peridian is can help with vision, so when he backs, or if he backs, if you call him to back. So if you sync these back timers up, mid lane wants to push middle, and then back. So syncing up back times,
Varus has
key.
no flash right now.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Resetting
We can't
tempo.
go in without Bromwell being down.
I'm just gonna show this actually.
Okay. So I'm missing now. Do you need this blue, Victor?
I don't need it.
I got my ward. I'm gonna go recall first and I'll be back. I'm gonna go get my ward.
Peridian just said that he'll have wards, so you should consider what side you want to play on. Do you want first turret? Do you want Rift? And there should be getting vision on which ones you want more. But the back timers are
I think we're pretty
synced
strong,
right now.
so I'll ward up around the dragon.
Thresh is currently going back. Mid lane wants to shove and then go back. You want to clear this and then go back. So you're having 3 different back timers. And it loses tempo.
Okay, let's. I'm up a lot of things. No.
I think it's up now.
Kindred's most likely bot side for
How many
blue.
marks do you have?
So most likely down
A mark is it's 50-50. This means whether it spawns on Raptors or.
They're blue
Yeah.
up, so
vision over
so they're
this,
gonna want
so
that
you
for it.
know that their top side was up, so if they're not up, they're blue, they have to be clearing their top side. So you know where Kindred is now. Kassadin is roaming down, and there's only 2 bottom right now, so you have to be very careful.
Walking down.
oh, they know I'm here. I think I'm gonna have to flash over the wall.
I've got Varus.
They have 4 on dragon. They have 4 on dragon right now.
Yeah.
I can TP. I can TP.
No, I'm starting it. But yeah, they're tanking it right
They're
now.
on it.
They're not doing it though.
Is he being- I'm
They're
sorry.
taking damage, yeah.
A fine life
I'm on the opposite
reaches
side of you
its
guys.
Here,
conclusion.
Here.
We should
I'm on
look
the
for this.
opposite side of you guys.
Yeah, that was stupid, dude.
There was this weird tempo from the weird back timings, and overall lost pressure, and the opponent took advantage of that.
Look here. Come down to the bot lane.
Now that you're out of it, feels awkward. you should be considering what you should be doing next since you have Death Timer to think about it. Kindred's mark is here. You have full red side. They just took dragon. What tempo play do they want to do from here? Their whole blue side is up. Their red is up. And you don't really have any pressure on the map, so you probably just want to go for a full clear at this point. Get wards up, because you can't let them have rift.
Be careful, Rekka.
Yeah.
Fuck, I misplayed that so hard.
Should
Or
be
should
making
they kill
sure
us?
we get wards around rift with the thresh wards.
He's healing too much anyway.
Was she left?
She's
Yeah,
probably
she's
just
watching
she's,
anyways.
she's watching
Anyways.
the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Big one. Yep, go ahead.
We shall remember this fact.
You see that Kindred is clearing her bot side, so you should be thinking that she's going to rotate over to her red
Wait, do I actually
zone,
not have vision of that board?
and you have nice vision set up for top side. Your champions, Nuke and Pick. So you should probably be looking to gain vision over here, or deny vision at least over here, and get pressure on Rift, or make a pick, and then get Rift.
I'm gonna see if they have vision of dragon. If not, I'm just gonna solo it. Kindred was down here though. They're on it.
She walked down with me.
I'm gonna steal it.
Its heart beats fast now.
Yeah, I
No.
can't
Eat right now, I'm eating it.
Here you should just be considering, is your life worth Cloud? Because you don't have flash, and when you jump in here, you're committed to the 2v1. So, for their team, it's better to have Cloud on, because this is a split pusher and roamer. Kindred likes rotations and fast farming. Scion can get to places faster and position better. And these are just immobile and it's just nice on. For the most part, you already have mobility. Over here, it's nice on Kha'Zix because he can get faster rotations on his picks. But overall, it's not as good as on your team, and I don't think losing the tempo of your life is worth Dragon here. I would have just given up Dragon, put pressure on top and Rift, and made an advantage over here. Getting hair isn't really that big of a deal.
I mean, alright, dude.
That's my bad.
I mean, you got the
I should have got the dragon though. I did it bad. Are you gonna be able to get that turret top?
Yeah, I mean, I'm walking up right now.
They don't have flashes.
Yeah,
if
I'm,
you want to
I'm walking
It
up.
should be
yeah.
going
I'm
top
doing the
side.
crash.
Cassidy's missing. They
Just
have
go on
two
Varus.
top
Just go on
side.
Varus.
Take the lantern, take the...
I got it, I got it. I got a
They're
one
very
push.
disrespectful if no one's calling the back them up.
Shut down. Shut down.
Okay, I'm fucking giant right now, guys. As soon as I back, I'm gonna be fucking huge.
Alright, it might need help by.
I'm gonna hold mid. I have to hold mid.
Yeah, double buff, so I can't like keep up with
Cassidy
this.
and Kindred are going up there.
Yeah, Kindred's doing her red right now, I think.
Cassidy's
Oh, she's coming.
Yeah, respect them.
Cassidy's there too.
Both bottom lanes disrespected. Roams and died for it. Unfortunately. dies here, you have two options. You can't do anything here, so there's no real reason to be here. You can go get her red buff since you know it's spawned and she doesn't have it. But you have to understand her bot lane is respawning and is coming back because they swapped, most likely. Or going mid lane, either one. So this could potentially be dangerous. So, and that, or you can go clear your jungle. Make sure that you don't lose this turret, but yeah. There's not too much you can do here. Right here, they know you're here, and Aspen's not gonna walk up to a bush that hits the Tarzan, and his bot lane's returning, most likely.
You have to try and force your first turret somewhere.
Oh yeah, I do hit force the first turn.
You see Kendrick was returning back to the red side. This ward's a little bit not needed.
I could use this stuff too.
Yeah, I can.
Passes in.
How fast can you run?
Shall we, dear wolf?
Race you there.
Controlling. Oh wait,
Time has come.
Ready or not.
Jeff, or can you say something?
There's nothing more that I wanted to look at. I'm mostly focusing on the early game for this team. And these are the main quirks I saw from your play. To understand what direction of the jungle you want to go through and or go to and what pathing you would like, what lanes to focus. It kind of felt awkward and you just kind of played on the mistakes of the opponent and not really made too much of your own plays. And then some of your plays didn't work from being behind from that position. Here is one I want to show you just for direction of play. So
Timothy is even now with score on camps, but he's
so Gragas just got his blue taken, and you know that Score will get Scuttle from here, and these three camps don't equal level 3, so they'll still be level 2. You see that they took Vision here, and that their bot lane warded earlier, and your bot lane should keep track of Vision. Everyone should keep track of Vision at early game, here and here, and those wards will have died off already. So they lack Vision here. You have to think about your continuing path from here. So he decides to do here and then rush over the Scuttle. But then you have to think about what Score wants. He is Kindred, and Raptors is very bad for Kindred. It takes too long, it does too much damage. It's just overall bad for Kindred. So Red in here in the Scuttle, you have to think where she would want to go to next. And she has a mark over here, and also Scuttle's a big priority. And to get double Scuttle is really good for jungle's early game, so she's most likely going to be going over here. She knows that you took here and here, and that Krugs is up, but she most likely won't fight you for it because she's going very deep into your jungle. Even though she knows she can win the 1v1 because she'll get Scuttle and have a level lead. So, knowing that, you have to think, if I go top side, I can't get Scuttle, I can only do Krugs, and then I'm stuck in this place where I just back and come clear Grump and maybe get a gank off on mid or bottom, but this is such a telegraphed pathing that as long as the opponent's respecting it, you should not be able to get this off. This other pathing you can take is here, play around vision, go around the vision, and then go here. You know her Raptors and her Krugs are up, and just go around vision and go take those, or gank mid or bottom, which you want them to get ahead anyways. So having the pressure mid the bot side is best. This matchup is relatively even. For the most part, some people say Aatrox is the winner of it, some people say Urgot, but relatively both are good by themselves and are fine just to go equal with each other. So right now, it's easier to get pry over these lanes, and you most likely know that Kindred will be going top side. So you can't face her, and it's really bad to go here because it puts you into a box.
Down the blue buff, and so now Score is actually going to get the Scuttle Crab. RNG really not going in his favor because that could have already just been the mark.
And
now,
again, Urgot comes over here, unfortunately.
Now they're both rushing over to the Scuttle. And the reason that I hate this really bad is because even if Xsmithy goes from his Wolves over into the Scuttle Crab, you can see that Syndra already has priority in mid lane, and Syndra has maintained priority in mid lane. Bottom lane is already a fucking nightmare. Even though I can't see top lane, I can't imagine that things are going too great for Impact. I see that he has the higher level, which, I mean, I guess that means that he's CSing the creeps a little bit quicker, which I assume means that it's actually pushing back into Smeb. Although, again, I can't confirm it. So, even if Xsmithy ends up showing up here, if they just posture with one another, this is bad for Xsmithy because Xsmithy is now on the left-hand side of the map. The only camp that he has to go to is going to be his golems. If he goes to his golems, then his rubber band timings are going to be extremely awkward because he can't proceed into top lane. If he recalls and goes into bottom lane, this is also going to be very bad timing for him because Doublelift and Ole are not going to have the lane in a position where they're always going to be able to help out or try to coordinate and do anything in bottom lane. The also issue with this is that if he recalls and passes into the Gromp, he can't transition into the Wraiths because it's not an efficient route at all. You know that Kindred has the Scuttle Crab. You know that Kindred is going to clear her left side of the camp in the time that it takes you all to do this, and then again you could run into the same predicament that you're in right now where you're matching Kindred on the side of the map where you're vulnerable and weak. So rather than him rushing immediately to the Scuttle, I don't, you know, because now he goes into the golems right now, and after the golems, he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't like the fact that Score's doing the blue. I think that Score doing the blue is actually quite stupid. He doesn't need to do it right away. He could have just done the Gromp first, or he could have done the Wolves first and then transitioned. And now you can see Xsmithy. This is one of the problems that you're going to have. Now you're going to recall, you're going to go to Gromp, and then by the time you get to the Gromp and you start finishing the Gromp, your bottom lane's going to be in an extremely ugly spot. You can't do anything there. Your rubber bands on Wolves are not going to line up, and now Kindred's ahead of you multiple camps, and Kindred's always going to be ahead on priority, which is not what you want to have happen, because you want to be matching priority, or you want to be just matching... I mean, you don't have to match priority exactly, but as long as you're only slightly delayed, then it still lines up for those counter games and the match games that we talked about earlier. Okay. So you can see here, he comes down, and Score actually, I mean, KT doesn't have a ward. Deft and Mater are not playing respectfully, and then Xsmithy ends up getting a gank.
Yeah. So this relatively isn't about Xsmithy doing great, it's about the opponent disrespecting the fact that this is the only pathway for Gragas to take now, and they did not cover it. But yeah. As for what I was talking about with back timings, this is a good example of.
Okay.
Is this the one? Oh, no, this is the one. This is the one that is relative to back timing.
Although
really
I still
good.
think that it's kind of bad. Okay. So,
So
alright,
they
Crown
pick
ends
up
up getting up
these
the
kills.
kill there. I don't know why Vitality is prioritizing getting an Ocean Drake. I do think that that is actually quite stupid. How does this game turn into a lose?
It's really nice.
Vitality's so far behind. Core JJ giving that cow one last lick.
And then he just returns to.
Alright, now, I mean, at this point, if you're Haru, I actually don't know if you do, because you already have level 6, I don't actually know if the Wraiths are going to level him up into 7. I don't know how much XP he's actually getting from all these kills onto Jack Troll and all whatnot. Does Haru actually go and eat? He does, right? No, he didn't actually eat. Alright, so there's some fundamental problems that I have with Haru's pathing. Haru could just eat the Gromp, and then he could also eat the Wolves, because he has to already concede the fact that Nocturne's just going to go to his red, right? Syndra's going to shove in mid, and then Syndra's going to recall. So rather than Haru pathing back into his Wraiths, eating the Wraiths, and then pathing into the blue, and then losing out on tempo, because now he has to recall, and now Nocturne has control over the river side, on both left and right side river around mid. What Haru could end up doing is he can just eat the Gromp, he can go into the Wolves, he can eat the Wolves, and then he can recall, because you know that Nocturne's going to go like this, and Echo's going to go like this, okay? Syndra's going to shove in mid, Echo's going to get into the mid lane, he's going to eat the wave that's at the turret, he's going to move up into the lane, start hitting the next wave. Haru's going to come off of the recall, run into the blue. Syndra's going to come into mid, eat the wave that's in mid, and then path into the blue. Get the blue off the Gragas, and then Gragas paths into the map, and he's now matching priority with the Nocturne.
So this is a simplistic version of just you got an advantage and then get a nice back timing with the best possible back and time it up with your allies with what they're doing, what they want to do. If you don't know, you can always ask them, but for the most part, you should try to make the best out of back timings. Ask the support when they're going to have wards for the early game. Ask where would you like vision, or just say where you would like vision. Tell people to buy pink wards. Mid laners, tops can buy them too, 80 carries. And then pressure the side of the map that you would like to synchronize your back for, because when you start playing it more like solo queue, your back timings can be very key. So what you want to do, and finally for the rest of this is just tempo. So they cheese bottom side so that Haim leashes and gives him a really nice leash, and he clears top, does scuttle because he has a level lead or XP lead, and then he starts pathing top side and takes the scuttle.
Best jungle opening out of all the games.
Like he says, best jungle opening. But from here, this gank is very poor. He saw that Talia was over here. He probably thought she wanted the recall, but you should always assume that she doesn't recall here, because she knows Gragas is top side and that is a potential gank. So this gank, you don't win the 2v2. You should always be wondering whether you do. Unless Talia overextends, you do not win the 2v2. So the best thing for Haru or Jankos would be to just go for a full clear here, and then get priority over his mid, and he can get prio over bottom too if he wants, but generally he would probably want to get prio over Camille so that she can get better into the split push. But if she goes even now, it's fine and you don't lose anything, but taking this 2v2 here is too greedy at the moment.
That I've seen. And jungle openings are quite rare when you see them. Okay, well, you know what?
So overpushing something can be tragic, and staying focused on what you want to focus is really key to making decisions. Definitely in those kind of decisions, is what you want to do. But overall, I think that what you need to work on is tracking and communicating exactly what you're tracking to continually keep track of it as you're going through the game. Just keep track. You don't have to get very specific at the start of it unless you really want to get skillful at it. You just need to understand which camps are up, whether it's bot side, top side. More specifically is better for your team. To communicate where they are and what most likely path they will take is good. Now it's not like 100% what they'll take, because they can obviously go another route or gank or do something else, but when they do that and you understand that camps are up or this happens, then you can take another advantage on the map. Is understanding a lot more about the map. Playing around your prio lanes, you didn't really do that too much. You kind of just let things happen and then you just followed up on them. Syncing up back times and making calls for objectives is good. And also understand what objectives you don't really want and what you do want, or which ones become more priority at times than others. But yeah. Other than that, I hope this helps.